Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another video at my YouTube channel. So today, just a few minutes ago, I'm planning to have this video up right when this release goes live. Just a few minutes ago, the brand new holiday release from Simon Says Stamp just went up. This is an awesome release, and I wanted to walk you through every single product in the release and sketch ideas for a few of them, and then hopefully make a couple cards with it as well, all in this video. So this is going to be a very lengthy video, just a heads up. I will have timestamps down in the comments. I'll have a comment pinned at the very top that will give you the times of when each product is spoken about and also when the cards are being made. I don't plan to do like a ton of cards, but who knows? I'm very inspired by all of these products. I might make more than just a couple. So the plan is, at the beginning of the video, I'm going to be showing you the products that I contributed to the release. These are things that I designed, and I'm going to sketch out some ideas with them, just things that I had in my mind as they were being designed and developed. And I'll be using those sketches for the actual cards that I make. And then the rest of the products that are in the release, I'm going to show you those as well. I don't think I'll have time to do sketches for them, but I wanted to show you them because they are excellent. They're so amazing. And I can't wait to use some of them in my upcoming holiday card series, which will be starting in a couple weeks. If you've been around in previous years, you know that this is one of my most favorite times of year. My holiday card series is when I share a holiday card Monday, Wednesday, and Friday until I've shared 25 of them. So it starts at the end of October and runs through mid-December. So it takes you all the way through the holiday season, up until nearly Christmas. So let's get going here. I'm going to start with the dies. In fact, I'm going to get my sketchbook out over here. This is the last card that I just posted. That probably looks familiar if you've seen it. If not, I'll have it linked up in the top corner. You can check out this card. It's a circle shaker card. Okay, so this is Christmas foliage, and it actually is the same designs as the Christmas foliage stencil that came out in Stamptember. I think it was Stamptember. So you could pair these really well together. In fact, I think I would probably do something like that on a card. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see this a little better. Okay, so I probably would do something like that, where I've got all the Christmas foliage stencil and then have like the die cuts on top. Maybe a sentiment coming off the side with a little ribbon end. Something like that. And I'll figure out a greeting when I get to them. All right, I've got 3 new snowflakes. Let me get all of the snowflakes here so I can show you them all at once. Okay, here are the 3 snowflakes in this release. I definitely will be using these at some point. These are middle names of people that I know, or me. My middle name is Marie, so finally I have a snowflake named after me. If you've followed all of these snowflake dies in the past, I try to design a few snowflakes every year, and in the past they've been named after different people, my nieces, friends' daughters, just whatever, mostly female names. And this year we have Leah, Grace, and Marie, and I just love them so much. So I will be using these snowflakes at some point. I don't know exactly how, but let's set these aside for a minute. I'm sure I'll sketch with some snowflake designs in mind. Got 2 background stamps. This is Leaves and Berries, which is a really elegant one, which I think would be really, really pretty embossed on a dark surface. So maybe like navy with gold on top. I think that would be gorgeous. And I think it'd be a great opportunity to bring in one of those snowflakes. So maybe I'll just sketch out that idea real quick. So maybe I've got, it would be matted, leaves and berries, dark cardstock plus gold emboss, and then a couple of snowflakes, gold snowflakes. These are kind of like similar designs actually. And then on this one, maybe there's a very small greeting coming in from the side. I'm just getting some idea out of my head. Okay, this one is Christmas Kaleidoscope. I think it's so pretty. It'd be great to watercolor or color. I'm trying to think what I could do. I think it'd be cool to have a background and then have the color blend in from the edges, and so it's more glowing in the center. I think that could be really, really cool. Let me take this out so it's not glaring quite as much. There we go. Have it kind of glowing from the center. And in fact, maybe that's when I could put one of these snowflakes right in the center and then build a greeting on top. And I want to show that it's like dark along the edges and gets lighter into the center where there's a snowflake. It's a really bad drawing of a snowflake. And then maybe there's a greeting right over the center. So die cut snowflake, dark corner blending. All right, so I think that's something that I could do with that one, incorporate the snowflakes. I think that'd be really, really cool. All right, I've got two stencils. I have holiday sweater and snowflakes. So some of these snowflakes will look familiar. I think this one came out in a die last year. I don't think this one's ever been a die, or maybe something similar. There's some really simple snowflake shapes, great for layering. And I think you could do maybe like ink blending these on in colorful, like a different selection of colorful colors, and then maybe over the top, then do Versamark and then emboss. I think that would be a really cool layering technique. So maybe it's like this. You've got some color coming in from the bottom, like it would be like a blended background. And then you've got a bunch of snowflakes. And then metallic snowflakes over the top. And you could even, I think it'd be really cool to not only have them stenciled on, but then maybe bring in some of these die cut snowflakes. So maybe these are die cut out of like a foil cardstock. I think that could be really, really pretty and add a lot of shine to the card as well. All right, here we have a holiday sweater stencil. I think this is really cute. You guys can see all the little intricate little areas almost look like hearts. I think that's so cute. Okay, so I think this one could also be really cool with maybe like a dark cardstock and then white pigment ink stenciled over so that there's a very faint pattern. I think that could be really cool. This is Holiday Greetings Mix 1. So many absolutely fabulous greetings to use. Lots of different sizes too. I like to have some variety. I was thinking that with this sweater, the holiday sweater stencil, it would be kind of cool to have, maybe it's like 3 different colors blended in the background, and then the sweater pattern over the top blended in those colors again, so it just intensifies the colors. And maybe it's the lightest right across the center, and then have a greeting right over that middle. So like this Merry and Bright could go right over the middle of that, and it would create the greeting area. You could also do the same with this large Merry right here. I think that would be really pretty. The Peaceful at the bottom would look really cool too. I love that there's so many backgrounds in this release, not just that I've contributed. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there's 5 more backgrounds. You'll see them here in a minute. But I love that there's so many backgrounds. Also, these snowflakes up here are the same designs as this year's snowflake dies. So there's so many greetings that you could do with these stamps. So I'm going to just sketch out that idea with the holiday sweater. All right, so I'm going to have color coming from each end and kind of lighter in the middle. And then I want greeting in the center. And maybe I can die cut a little snowflake and kind of just have it off to the side or something, or maybe some sequins or something. Okay, this Season's Greetings box, I think that would look really well with probably this one right here, the die cut snowflake. I think that could be cool. It's probably just about the right size to go over this largest snowflake. Let's check. Oh yeah, that'd be really pretty, to going right across that center of that snowflake. It's a little bit hard to see, but I can see in person. Okay, so Season's Greetings. As you can tell, I'm not careful with my handwriting when I'm sketching ideas. We have a few more items to go over. These are things, let's see, just a couple more dies actually. This one is sort of a little bit like the snowflake, but not really. Let me take this out so you can see it. I think it's going to be really cool. So you can see that there's like pine tree design right here, but then there's the sprigs and then the berries and the leaves. It's a really, really cool design here. And I think it would be really beautiful cut out of foil cardstock or cut out of regular cardstock and then metallic heat embossed on top. I think that could be really, really pretty. Or glitter paper. So, and maybe I'll pair it with a couple of these other background stamps that are in the release. So we'll get to that in a minute here. In previous releases, these greetings that have the words and then a box on top have been really popular. So I did a couple more of these. Here's the Joyful frame. Obviously Joyful's backwards, but very thin lined frame, and then the letters are cut out. So you could actually use the letters separately from the square, from the box. You could use it on a different project. I think that could be really, really cool. That is an option. And then this one is a Mary frame. So it's kind of the same idea, except it's all in one line. So those are a couple more options that I could use on my cards. All right, so I'm gonna try to pair these up with some other products that are in the release. All right, let's get into the other ones. I have a huge stack here. I'm telling you, this is a really big release. It's so awesome though, I love it. Okay, so here we go. Ornamental wreath. It's really, really pretty. And I'll try to put on screen what these look like when they're cut out because I think they look really cool. So ornamental wreath, here's leaf branch oval. And it does not cut this area right here. So then you can stamp a greeting on it. I think this would make a really cool shaker card. And I think, yeah, a couple of these greetings, these smaller greetings on the stamp set would fit right in that area right there. So happy holiday wishes could go right there. Happy Christmas. I think that could be beautiful. The peaceful will not fit. It's a little too big. All right, here is gnome. So you get the outer area of the gnome and then you get all the pieces that you can cut in separate colors and piece them together on top of the background. By the way, the metallic sheets that I have in my die pockets, I just bought a bunch of metallic magnetic sheets on Amazon. I'll have them linked. I'll have them linked down below if you want to get these. They're thin enough that you can cut with your paper trimmer, so I really like these. And as you saw with this one, I keep all the little scraps because sometimes you don't have a ton of dies, you just have a few. All right, here is Christmas bulbs. Lots of different sizes, so you can put a string on your card and have the dies kind of dangling down. I think that'd be really pretty. This one is prayers. It's a little bit hard to see just the die itself, what it looks like. So I'll put an image on screen so you can see what it looks like. But I think this could be really, really great for not only sympathy cards, but for the holidays if you want to say like sending holiday prayers or prayers to see you soon or anything like that. I think there's a lot of greeting opportunities there. All right, this one is from Kathy Zilski. Such cute little reindeer in a row. Adorable. I love that one. Okay, this one I think is going to be a really big seller. So, especially because I've talked to some of the other Simba designers that have received product and they're making projects for the release. They are all loving this one. Sherry Carroll hit it out of the park with this design. It's so fun to color. So if you want this background stamp, you might want to like really get on it right now because I think it's going to sell out this first round. Of course, Simon will restock as fast as they can, but if you want to make sure you have it as soon as you possibly can so you can get working on your holiday cards, you might want to pick this up sooner rather than later. In fact, I think this is giving me an idea for another card. So maybe I'll do a square card, and it'll be all the candy canes. This is going to be a really bad sketch. Candy canes, right? Candy canes everywhere. And then I think I'm going to put this really long stamp, or maybe it won't be square. Maybe it'd have to be a portrait card, but put this right over the top. So it would have to be kind of like candy cane colored dark. So like a dark background, maybe red shades on the candy canes, and then have this greeting across the center. So tall greeting, heat embossed. I think that could be really, really cool and really dramatic. That could be fun too. Okay, so here's one that Nina Marie Trapani did. So pretty. In fact, you're going to see this design in a couple other stencils, which I think are really fun. This looks like it would be phenomenal for coloring. So fun. Here's another one. I think this one is from Nina as well. Outline Christmas bulbs. Love that. I love all the strings going through. This will be so fun to color. So many great coloring options in this release. You're just going to die. Those of you who love to watercolor or color with markers or things like that, colored pencils, so many options in this release. Here's a fun background from Kathy. This is a reindeer background. It's similar to the little reindeer row of reindeers on the die. So cute. I could picture some kind of really preppy looking card designs with this. Maybe like I'm trying to think, like a dark green background with like a lighter green pigment ink stamped, like a tone on tone. I think that could be really, really pretty. All right, here's another one from Kathy. Clean line trees. So sorry if there's some glare on these. You're seeing the reflection of my camera that's up above. These are so fun. I love these. They look so much like Kathy because she loves her trees like this. I think they could be super, super cute. All right, here's that stencil set, one of them that I was referring to. This one is actually a layering set. So you have just the flowers, and then you have the leaves, and then you have the pine sprigs, and then the berries. So you can layer all of these together to create a really cool pattern. You can kind of see how they fit together. So what I'm going to do, and I haven't used this stencil yet, so this is purely like, I'm doing it right now as I'm thinking about it. I'm going to use a marker because these line up perfectly right now. I'm going to use a Sharpie marker, and I'm just going to put a little dot in the top right corner of each of these. So I know that's the corner that lines them all up, just so I have a reference. All right, next we have gnomes, and you can build your own little gnome guy. So cute. They even have different sizes for noses, different patterns to go on the body of the gnome, or I guess you could even put them on the hat if you wanted to. All right, here is that winter floral. This is basically the same design, but all together, so you don't have to do the layering of all the different pieces. You can use them all at the same time. All right, now we've got just the last few stamps. And these are all 4x6 stamp sets. This is Clean Line Christmas from Kathy Zielske. I cannot wait to use these. I love the very thin lined dainty words. Let me take this out. Hopefully you can see it a little bit better. There we go. I love it. The greetings are all really good. Peace and love to you, calm and bright, silent night. Love these. I love how dainty it is. I'm just picturing so much metallic heat embossing. It's not even funny. So cool. Okay, before I move on to these other ones, I wanted to, there were a couple of my dies that I didn't do sketches for yet. So I'm thinking that the layered, what was it called? Winter Floral Layering Set. I think I want to do that one and layer it on the background. So 4 color stencil layering over black. And I think I'm going to see if I can, I don't know if this little concept will work, but I'm going to try to stencil the color on and then come back again and just sponge on a little bit of Versamark around the edges of the flowers and then sprinkle on embossing powder. I don't know if that will work, but I kind of want to get like a kind of sparkly edged look on the flowers. So I'm going to try that. Okay. I think I want to put this Mary over the top. And then that idea that I spoke about having like a tone-on-tone background, this would be a really simple card because I'm mostly going to have it focus on this background. So maybe I should have a fun kind of cutout. So, okay, let's have the background. And then I'm going to cut out a square. I'll probably have to do it by hand. And then have the joyful die cut in the center. So there's some depth there. I think that could be really, really cool. Okay, and the last few stamp sets. This one is Peace, Love, and Belly Rubs. There is a coordinating die for it as well. But I just want to show you guys how cute these little guys are. These little dogs. So adorable. So this one is Peace, Love, and Belly Rubs. All right, next we have Falling for You, which is more autumn themed than holiday, but still really, really cute with these little critters. The greetings are smaller, so if you're looking for some smaller greetings for your cards, if that's more your speed, this would be a great stamp set for you. And last but not least is Christmas Globe, which I think might have a die set with it, but I don't have it on hand. So cute. I love this tree right here. And these are all very thinly lined images, so they'd work really well for no one coloring as well. So this is Christmas Globe. Okay, so like I said, this video is going to be super, super long. I'm going to go in and I think I'm going to make 3 cards. I think I'm going to do this one right here. I think that could be really fun. The ink blended from the corner with the snowflake and that other stamp. I want to try this layered stenciling, putting the gold edges on the flowers. I think that could be really pretty. And then I think I also want to try this ink blended from the top with the sweater stencil. So those are the 3 that I'm going to attempt to make. We'll see how it goes. Okay, we're heading straight into the 2 cards that I made first. So I'm going to start out by putting some teal cardstock in my Misty stamp positioning tool, and I'm using the Leaves and Berries background stamp, and I'm stamping that in Versamark ink. I'm then sprinkling on some clear embossing powder. This is actually icicle embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. And I'll just tap off the excess and then hit that with my heat tool until everything's smooth and melted. Now, since I was kind of doing a more simple card design, I decided to make 2 cards. This other one is using red cardstock with the Christmas kaleidoscope background. Same idea though, clear embossing powder. I then took some soft navy ink from Simon and ink blended that onto the sides and corners of this teal piece. And that really makes a dramatic border around the outside edge, makes the center stand out in a little bit of a lighter color. Did the same exact thing on the red piece, except I used dark chocolate ink, also from Simon. So these 2 pieces are just about ready to start putting the greeting together. I'm going to cut some snowflakes. I've got 2 separate 6x6 pads from Die Cuts with a View. I'm not sure if either of these pads are still available, so I'll try to link to some glitter paper and some foil paper down in the video description or at my blog if you're looking to purchase some like this for your own crafting. So I have some gold foil, some kind of like a pale blue glitter paper, and then a silver glitter paper. So I cut out some snowflakes. I put the silver or the white glitter and the light blue on my blue card, and then the gold foil snowflake on the red card. For greetings on both of these cards, I used the same Season's Greetings stamp from that big stamp set that you saw earlier in the video. And on the brown one, I used a spare piece of brown cardstock from Lawn Fawn from my previous video, and I stamped it in Versamark, added some gilded embossing powder from Brutus Monroe, heat set that until it was melted, and then trimmed it out. And it's the perfect size to go over the top of the Marie snowflake, which is the larger of the 3 snowflakes. I did the same exact steps, but with navy cardstock and sterling embossing powder from Brutus Monroe for the other card. So on the red card, the edges are brown and I have a brown greeting. On the blue card, I have navy edges or navy ink on the edges, so I used navy cardstock for the greeting. I adhered the snowflakes using some Gina K Designs Connect glue. And then when it came to putting on the actual greetings, I put some foam adhesive right on the back and then put those directly onto the cards over the snowflake areas. So those are the first 2 cards. Rather simple cards, but very dramatic looking. I love cards like this for the holidays, and I really enjoyed using these backgrounds. I can't wait to use them a little bit more. So now we're going to go straight into the second card, and this was the card sketch with the Christmas sweater stencil. And this card idea sort of morphed a little bit. If you remember, I wanted the color at the top and bottom and have it fade in the middle. I decided to swap that into the opposite and have the colors in the middle and have them fade to white. I thought it would look a little bit more dramatic. And I also wanted to have the greeting over the middle area, and I couldn't have the greeting be white over white cardstock. That wouldn't really work. So I knew I had to have the color in the center. So I started out with peacock feathers, blended that, and then added some chipped sapphire. I'm using a life-changing blender brush from Picket Fence Studios, and that's how I get a pretty soft blend coming out from both of these colors. I then taped my piece down to my work surface here so it wouldn't move, and then I placed that Christmas sweater stencil right over the top. I'm going to tape this in place as well so that I can blend over the top. Using that same blender brush, I'm adding some peacock feathers at the top of the stencil. Then I'm coming in with chipped sapphire, and I'm bringing that chipped sapphire up a little bit above the area that's blended underneath, and also bringing it down below a little bit, and then changing colors at the very bottom to peacock feathers. This is going to give me a really cool kind of multicolor effect over this entire background. I really love how that turned out. It was sort of an experiment, and I'm glad it worked out. Now, like I mentioned before, I'm going to have the greeting in white, so it's going to be heat embossed. So I wanted to test the area to make sure no heat embossing powder would stick. So I dried it with the heat tool to make sure the ink was completely dry, and then sprinkled on some white embossing powder. Now, I'm glad I checked because as you can see, some of it stuck to it. So I brushed off the excess and then dried it some more, and then it was ready for some stamping. I'm using that Peaceful stamp from the large stamp set. I'm going to prep the area with an anti-static powder tool before I stamp, and then I inked up my stamp with Versamark ink. I'll press that down onto my background, and then I can sprinkle on some white embossing powder. This is Alabaster embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. I'll tap off the excess, and then hit that with my heat tool until that entire stamped image is smooth and melted. I then grabbed a couple other little stamps from the stamp set. One says Wishing You A, and the other says Christmas. And I stamped those onto some navy cardstock in Versamark ink, used that same embossing powder, and then trimmed them down to very small, narrow strips. As far as assembling this card goes, I put some foam adhesive on the back and then put it directly onto a white card base. This card base is made out of some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White 110-pound cardstock. Place those smaller 2 greetings on some foam tape, and there is the second card. Well, third, I guess. I'm going on to the 4th card, and this one has that layering stencil, and this kind of took a turn. I wasn't entirely sure how to do the gold that I had in my mind, and this is a little bit what I came up with. I hope you guys enjoy. I think that looks pretty cool. So I started out with some 6x6 black cardstock from Hero Arts, and I brought in some candied apple oxide ink, Distress Oxide ink, and I just used a blender brush to add that ink over the first layer of the stencil. Removed that stencil and then moved on to the next layer where I used peeled paint ink. This is another oxide ink. And by the way, These stencils cleaned up so easy using this oxide ink because the oxide ink is water reactive. So the minute you put this stencil underneath some water in the sink, the ink just pools right off. It slides right off the stencil. It's really great cleanup. I then used Lucky Clover for a little bit more of an intense green for the pine needles. And for the very last layer, this is when I discovered that I had put the dots wrong in the top corner. This last layer, I thought that doesn't look quite right. So I started rotating the stencil a little bit, trying to figure out where I went wrong. And this last turn right here looks perfect because it puts those dots in the center of the flowers. So in order to remove the dot I put on earlier, I grabbed an alcohol wipe and just wiped that Sharpie ink right off the corner of my stencil. And then while it was turned correctly, I grabbed another marker and put that dot up in the corner. I did this last layer using some white pigment ink from Simon, and I just rubbed that on there. Now here's where I started to experiment with adding gold. I decided I better try this on some scratch paper, which I'm glad I did. I tried a couple different methods of trying to put Versamark ink on the flowers, and I didn't really like the look of any of them. So I decided to scrap that idea and paint on the metallic color. So I'm using some Finetec paints, and I did a little bit of experimenting on that flower on the very edge, and then decided to just go for it. So I took this gold shade, and with a very small paintbrush, this is a size, I think it's a 00 from, it's an American Journey brush. I used the gold on the red flowers. I used a green shade from the Finetec palette over the leaves. I then switched to more of a teal shade or aqua shade for the pine needles. And then I finished off with a white silvery shade to coat all of those dots. And I really love how it made the edges of the images look like they were glowing. Now, while I had my paints out, I decided to go ahead and paint some gold onto black cardstock that I could use for my die cut. If you remember correctly, I'm using the Mary frame die cut, and I did the words in gold and the background with white cardstock. And I ran that through my Gemini Junior machine, and then I had the pieces all cut out so that I could assemble them. I put some Gina K Connect glue on the back of that gold frame, and then put that directly onto the white cardstock. The thing that was interesting about having that gold painted onto black cardstock and then die cut is that some of the gold paint flakes off a little bit, so you get sort of like an aged antique gold look. I think it was really kind of a fun idea, and I might have to visit that in a different card later because I think that was an accidental kind of find, but looks really cool in person. Put some foam tape behind that Mary, and then put everything on a 5x7 card base. So those are all 4 of my cards for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the sketch ideas and seeing this entire release. I think it's such a strong holiday release with so many different things to do, lots and lots of technique ideas in the back of my mind. Thank you so much for watching today. Make sure you check out those links down below in the video description and over at my blog. And on screen, I've got 3 more card ideas for you. These are my most recent videos. I hope you'll check those out. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, please do, and hit that notification bell when you subscribe. Thanks for watching today. I will be back very soon with another card video.